Thanks, John, and thanks for having me, guys, and thanks for letting me sub in last minute and give a talk about something I'm passionate about. Is anyone here familiar with the metric DALI? Raise your hand, maybe. Okay, a few. So DALI is my favorite measure of the impact of disease. It doesn't only measure years of life lost due to death, but also years of healthy life lost due to disability. And today, I want to talk about number 3 on this list, and specifically, I want to talk about depression. So I studied physics and neuroscience at Dartmouth. No MIT, but I love Dartmouth, and I love MIT as well. And I love them both equally. And I got to study mental illnesses like depression, and I thought it was fascinating. About 6 months after I graduated, I got a real understanding of what depression is, and it went from words on a page to a dark reality I had to live with every day. Through a mix of ignorance and self-deception, it ended up taking me 5 months to go seek help when my friends and family around me were constantly telling me about the things that were going on and how obvious it was that I was depressed. 5 months is actually pretty good. I'm just going to focus on the USA here, but the median delay in years between symptom onset for mood disorders like depression and eventual diagnosis is 4 years. So people go many years suffering from these illnesses that get progressively worse and worse. And this is data from people that make it to diagnosis. There's a whole large group of people that unfortunately can't even make it that far. There are a lot of reasons for this. I'm specifically very passionate about measurement. I was trained as a scientist, and it's like one of the very important things to do as a scientist is measure properly. And while I get to work with technology and feel like I'm living in the future on a day-to-day basis, when I work in the mental health space, specifically mental health measurement space, it makes me feel like I'm living in the past. As people have previously mentioned, there's a lot of surveys with pen and paper. That's sort of the current best of tool for doing measurement. That isn't only constrained to doctor-patient scenarios. Researchers developing new therapeutics, determining if a certain drug is an antidepressant or not, are using the same surveys. They're getting 17 questions answered every 2 weeks, and they're using that to determine, is this drug indeed an antidepressant? That tool is extremely low resolution, and it's very subjective. I've been trying to work to build a high-resolution tool that gathers a lot of objective data. And how we're doing it is we're monitoring smartphone usage patterns. We're measuring things like geolocation, sleep, and activity, which are sort of the more traditional measures of behavioral health. But we're also taking from new research coming out on multiple other data signals we can gather. For example, the delay between the period at the end of a sentence and the next letter of the next sentence increases as someone becomes more depressed. There are a huge wealth of these signals. There are more coming out every day, and we hope to discover new ones. And in terms of the actual products we're building, we want to start by helping out researchers. So today, they'll get a 17-question survey every 2 weeks. Each question covers things like, how sad were you last week? What was your sleep like this previous week? We want to help do those surveys in an easy fashion, so they're embedded in our app, and users in a clinical panel can fill those out from the comfort of their home. And we want to add objective data to each of those lines. So a patient may say, my sleep is perfect, it's 5 out of 5, but if we're measuring them at 3 hours of sleep a night, that's not exactly perfect. After working with researchers, which I expect will be like a many-year process, we eventually want to help out with early detection. In order to do that, we want to one day be on the phone in the same way that activity is measured. You can open your phone, you can look at your step count, you can also look at how risk of depression looks for you, and hopefully get a sort of check engine light for your own brain. Thank you, and I would love to talk to anyone afterwards.
Hey, thanks for sharing.
Thanks.